You smell rain on hot pavement. It's a specific smell. It has a name, petrichor. But you don't need the name. You know it. It might take you back to being a kid waiting for a summer storm to break. Or maybe it just makes you feel calm. A smell can do that. It can pull a memory right out of the back of your mind. It can change your mood in a second. We are surrounded by a world of smells. Most of the time we ignore them. The smell of coffee in the morning, the exhaust from a bus, the clean scent of laundry. They are just background noise. We don't really think about our sense of smell until it's gone, like when we have a bad cold. Then food tastes like nothing. The world feels flat, distant. This makes you wonder, is this all there is? Is our sense of smell just a background sense, a minor player compared to our sharp eyesight and keen hearing? And what about the people who came before us, our ancient ancestors, living in a world without pavement, without coffee shops, without laundry detergent? Did they smell the world differently? Did they have a better sense of smell? The short answer is almost certainly yes, but the long answer is more interesting. It's a story about survival, evolution, and trade-offs. It's a story about what we lost and what we gained. Let's go back not just a few hundred years. Let's go back tens of thousands, even millions of years. Imagine a world without supermarkets or warning labels. Every day is a search for food. And every day is an attempt to avoid becoming food. In that world, your nose is not for enjoying the scent of a flower. It's a primary tool for survival. Think about finding something to eat. Fruit on a tree looks good. But is it ripe? Your eyes can be fooled. Color can be misleading. Your nose knows. A ripe piece of fruit releases specific chemical compounds as its sugars develop. It smells sweet, inviting. An unripe fruit smells green, sharp, unappealing. Your nose tells you, eat this one, not that one. Eating the wrong one could mean a wasted effort and a stomachache. Eating the right one means precious calories. What about hunting or being hunted? An animal leaves a trail of scent wherever it goes. Sweat, urine, trampled plants. A predator, like a big cat, has its own distinct, musky odor. Our ancestors, walking through the tall grass of the savannah, would have relied on their noses to detect what was nearby. A faint shift in the wind could carry a message. The smell of a potential meal up ahead. Or the smell of a predator hiding in the bushes. Your nose could be the difference between eating and being eaten. It was an early warning system. Smell was also a purity test. You find a carcass of an animal. It could be a huge score, a source of protein and fat for your family. But how long has it been dead? Your eyes might not be able to tell you, but your nose can. The smell of fresh meat is one thing. The smell of rot, of decay, is something else entirely. Our noses are exquisitely sensitive to the smells of decomposition. Those smells are produced by bacteria, and those bacteria can make you sick or even kill you. An aversion to the smell of rot isn't just a preference, it's a deep-seated survival instinct. Your nose says, do not eat this. It is poison. And it wasn't just about food and predators. Smell was social. It was about communication. We don't think about it much now because we cover ourselves in soaps and deodorants. But every person has a unique scent signature, influenced by their genes, their diet, their health. Our ancestors could likely smell fear in another person's sweat. They could probably identify family members by their scent. A mother knows the smell of her baby. A baby knows the smell of its mother. This is a primal connection. Scent could also signal health and fertility. When a person is sick, their body odor can change. A potential mate's scent could provide subtle clues about their immune system. We are drawn to people whose immune systems are different from our own. This genetic diversity makes for healthier offspring. We might not be aware of it, but our noses are still making these calculations, guiding our choices on a subconscious level. For our ancestors, this was not subconscious, it was vital information, so the case is strong. They needed a good sense of smell. Their lives depended on it in a way ours simply does not. But is there any physical evidence? Does our own biology tell the story of decline? Yes, it does. The evidence is written in our DNA. Inside your nose, you have millions of specialized cells called olfactory receptors. Each receptor is like a tiny lock. When a specific smell molecule, a key, floats into your nose, it fits into one of these locks. This sends a signal to your brain, which then says, that's coffee. You have a whole library of these locks, allowing you to detect a vast range of different smells. The instructions for building these locks are in our genes. We call them olfactory receptor genes. We humans have around 900 of these genes in total. That sounds like a lot, but here's the catch. For us, more than half of them are broken. They are what scientists call pseudogens. They are still there in our DNA, like old unused code, but they don't work anymore. They don't build a functional lock. The key can float by, but there's nothing for it to fit into. No signal gets sent to the brain. Now, let's compare that to other mammals. A mouse has about 1,200 olfactory receptor genes, and most of them work. A dog has a similar number, and a huge percentage of theirs are functional. This is why a dog's sense of smell is so legendary. They live in a world of information that we are completely blind to. An elephant has the most of all with over 2,000. They can supposedly smell water from miles away. When we look at our own primate family, the story becomes clearer. Primates that are more distantly related to us, like lemurs, have a higher percentage of working smell genes. Monkeys have more than apes, and among the apes, humans have the highest percentage of these broken, non-functional genes. The evolutionary path is clear. Somewhere along the line that led to us, the sense of smell became less important. Evolution is efficient. It doesn't keep what it doesn't need. If a trait is no longer critical for survival and reproduction, mutations can accumulate without being weeded out. A mutation that breaks a smell gene in a mouse might mean that mouse can't find food as well, so it has fewer babies and the broken gene disappears. But a mutation that broke a smell gene in one of our ancestors might not have made much of a difference to their survival. Maybe they had other ways to find food, so they survived, had kids, and passed on the broken gene. Over millions of years, this happened again and again. Our sense of smell slowly, quietly faded. So why did it happen? What changed? There wasn't one single event. It was a slow process of trade-offs. We gave up some of our smelling power in exchange for something else. The biggest trade-off was likely for better vision. Most mammals are colorblind, or at least have very limited color vision. They see the world in shades of gray and blue and yellow. But many primates, including us, develop what's called trichromatic vision. We have 3 types of cone cells in our eyes, allowing us to see the full spectrum of colors. Reds, greens, blues, and everything in between. Why was this so important? Go back to the fruit example. A nose can tell you if a fruit is ripe, but so can good color vision. You can spot a red berry against a wall of green leaves from a distance. You can see the subtle shift from green to yellow to orange in a piece of fruit. Vision is a long-range sense. You can see the fruit tree from across a valley. You can only smell it when you get much closer. As our ancestors moved into the daylight and relied more on foraging for fruits and young leaves, sharp, full-color vision became a massive advantage. It was more useful for navigating complex, 3-dimensional environments like forests. It was better for spotting predators from afar. The parts of our brain dedicated to processing visual information expanded dramatically. The brain is a hungry organ. It uses a lot of energy. There's only so much processing power to go around. As resources were poured into building a superpowered visual system, fewer resources were left for the olfactory system. The sense of smell didn't disappear, but it was no longer the star of the show. Our vision took center stage. Another major change was our posture. We stood up. Bipedalism, walking on 2 legs, was a revolutionary step in human evolution. It freed our hands to carry tools, food, and babies. It allowed us to travel long distances more efficiently. But it also did something else. It lifted our noses off the ground. Think about a dog again. Its nose is just a few inches from the earth. The ground is where the story is written. Every animal that walks by leaves a trail. The most concentrated, information-rich smells are down there. By standing up, we moved our noses 5 or 6 feet into the air. We left that world of ground-level scent behind. We started sampling the air, which carries smells over longer distances, but in a much more diluted form. Our world became more visual, less olfactory simply because of our height. Then came one of the biggest game changers in human history, fire. The ability to control fire changed everything, including our relationship with smell. And cooking food with fire does several things. It kills parasites and bacteria, making food safer. This means we didn't need a nose that was quite so sensitive to the subtle signs of spoilage. A little bit of heat could take care of a lot of potential problems. Cooking also makes food easier to digest. It breaks down tough fibers and proteins, allowing us to get more calories out of the same amount of food. This caloric boost is thought to have fueled the expansion of our large brains. But it also changed the smells we cared about. The smell of raw meat or a raw tuber became less important than the complex, delicious smells created by cooking. The Maillard reaction, the process that browns meat and bread, creates hundreds of new aroma compounds. Our brains learned to love these smells. They signaled a safe, calorie-dense, easily digestible meal. Our olfactory focus shifted from the raw to the cooked, and as our brains grew, we developed another new tool language. Sophisticated communication changed how we navigated the world. An individual no longer had to rely solely on their own senses. You could learn from the experience of others. Someone could tell you, the fruit on that tree over there is ripe. Or, a lion was spotted by the river this morning. Information could be shared. Knowledge could be accumulated and passed down through generations. This social safety net of language reduced the intense evolutionary pressure on any single individual's senses. You didn't need the best nose in the group if you could listen to the person who did. We began to solve problems not just with our senses, but with our collective intelligence. So the story seems pretty clear. Our ancestors needed a great sense of smell for survival. But as we evolved, we developed better vision, we stood up, we controlled fire, and we learned to talk. Each of these developments made our sense of smell a little less critical, and so over millions of years, it gently declined. The genetic evidence of those broken genes seems to seal the deal, but is that the whole story? Is it possible that we're underestimating ourselves? Recently, some scientists have started to push back against this idea of humans as olfactory failures. They argue that we've been unfairly comparing ourselves to animals like dogs and rats, and in doing so, we've missed the remarkable abilities of our own noses. The size of the olfactory bulb, the part of the brain that first processes smell signals, is often used as evidence of our poor smelling ability. In humans, it's tiny compared to the rest of our massive brain, but the new argument is that this relative size doesn't matter. What matters is the absolute number of neurons in it, and it turns out humans have a surprisingly large number of neurons in their olfactory bulbs, on par with many other mammals known for their good sense of smell. The suggestion is that our brains, with their incredible processing power, might be able to do more with less. We might not have as many working gene locks as a dog, but our brain might be much better at analyzing the signals it does receive. We don't just detect a smell, we interpret it. We connect it to memories, emotions, and complex ideas. A dog smells a predator and reacts with instinct. A human smells smoke and can analyze it. Oh, is it a cooking fire? Is it a forest fire? Where is it coming from? Is it getting closer? Our brain adds a layer of cognition that a dog's does not. And when we are tested on specific tasks, the human nose can be surprisingly powerful. Studies have shown that we can detect certain aromatic compounds at even lower concentrations than dogs can. We are particularly good at smelling the compounds found in fruit and flowers, which makes sense given our evolutionary history as foragers. We are also incredibly good at discriminating between different smells. A trained perfumer or a wine sommelier can identify hundreds, even thousands of distinct aromas. This suggests that the hardware is still there, we just need to train it. One famous study showed that humans are perfectly capable of tracking a scent trail, just like a dog. The researchers laid a trail of chocolate essence across a field. Blindfolded and wearing thick gloves and earmuffs to block their other senses, test subjects got down on all fours, and with a bit of practice, were able to follow the trail with their noses. They weren't as fast or as elegant as a dog, but they could do it. The ability isn't gone. It's just dormant. This brings up a crucial point. Maybe the difference between us and our ancestors is not just about biology. Maybe it's about practice. Our modern world is an olfactory desert compared to the world they lived in. We live in climate-controlled homes that we clean with harsh chemicals that mask or eliminate natural odors. We wash our bodies with scented soaps and cover any remaining natural scent with deodorants and perfumes. Our food is processed and packaged, stripped of the rich, earthy smells of its origin. We travel in sealed metal boxes, disconnected from the smells of the landscape we pass through. We have systematically deodorized our lives. We are no longer required to pay attention to smell. We don't need to sniff the wind for danger or search for the scent of a water source. So we don't. Our sense of smell isn't being exercised. It's like a muscle we never use. It hasn't disappeared, but it has become weak from lack of use. Our ancestors, on the other hand, lived in a world saturated with smells. Every plant, every animal, every gust of wind, every drop of rain carried information. Their daily life was a constant workout for their olfactory system. They were not just smelling, they were interpreting. They were building a rich mental map of their environment based on scent. They were attuned to their world in a way we can barely imagine. Their sense of smell was not just biologically more intact, it was also finely honed through a lifetime of constant, high-stakes practice. So, did our ancestors have a better sense of smell? The answer has to be yes. Genetically, they had more functioning olfactory receptor genes, they had more tools in their toolkit. They could detect a wider range of smells than we can today. Evolutionarily, this makes perfect sense. Their survival depended on it. But beyond the genetics, they also had a more effective sense of smell. They used it constantly. They paid attention to it. Their brains were wired to prioritize and interpret olfactory information in a way that ours no longer are. The hardware was better, and the software was more practiced. We haven't completely lost it, though. The basic machinery is still there. We are still capable of remarkable feats of smell when we put our minds to it. The power of scent to trigger vivid memories and deep emotions shows how tightly wired into our brains it still is. It's a direct line to the most ancient emotional parts of our consciousness. When you smell that rain on the pavement, you are tapping into something ancient. For you, it's a nostalgic memory. For your distant ancestor, that same smell might have signaled the end of a long drought, the promise of fresh plant growth, the revival of the animals they hunted. It was the smell of life, the smell of survival. We still have that connection. It's just quieter now. We've traded some of that raw sensory alertness for other skills like abstract thought and technological prowess. We don't need to smell a predator to know we are in danger. We get a notification on our phone about a storm coming. We don't need to smell fruit to know it's ripe. We read the date on the package. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a different way of being human. But it's worth remembering what we came from. It's worth taking a moment every now and then to close our eyes and just breathe in. To pay attention to the subtle sense of our world. The smell of the air after a storm, the smell of freshly cut grass, the smell of a wood fire, the scent of another person. In those smells, there's a faint echo of a different world, a world where survival was carried on the wind, or a world our ancestors knew, not with their eyes or their ears, but with their nose.